Hello everybody, my name's Mike and I am the founder of Talk About It Mate, and I'm really pleased to announce episode 12 of the Talk About It Mate podcast. Another amazing conversation, this time with another member of our community, Martin. We talked about a lot of different things, personally, how we benefited from going to men's peer support, self-help kind of sessions, and self-regulation in terms of emotion, which is the theme. And in men and in our jobs, and Martin talks quite openly about his role when he worked as a call handler for the ambulance service, and the toll that can take, and we touched on a lot of different topics, including sensitivity, and emotion is the theme that runs through it all. But I really hope you get something from this, because I really enjoyed recording this one, and he's a great guy. So enjoy episode 12 of the Talk About It Mate podcast. That's a great way to start it. Okay, hello everybody, welcome to episode 12 of the Talk About It Mate podcast, and I'm sat here with a wonderful guest, Martin.
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are in this wonderful world.
It's a really good start. You're putting the listener at ease there, aren't you?
Yeah, I try my best, yes.
Well, as I always start off really nervous, so I was just talking to Martin about the fact that he used to do a podcast about Man United, is that right?
That's correct, yeah. 2 years or so, stressful. Editing, recording. I was saying to Mike that once we recorded, finished the podcast, it was an hour, and realised I hadn't pressed record, so I had to record the whole thing again.
Now I'm super paranoid, like checking my screen and everything. No, everything is good. Just a little update where we are. We're now officially a community interest company, social enterprise. Hey! Which I think is a long time coming. I think the chats I've been having with people is that the groundwork for Talk About It Mate is well and truly in place. We've been doing it long enough, and it's just a matter of believing that what I'm doing for Talk About It Mate is going to make a difference to people out there. And the more we do the podcast, the more that confirms to me that that's the case. And like you say, you've got to start somewhere. You start small, and it grows from there. And I think this is an important reason why I keep on doing the podcasts.
Yeah.
And like, I'm sure when you did yours, you just think, I've got to put something out, because you're passionate about doing the podcast for the,
yeah.
And I'm the same. I'm passionate about doing it. So it is just a conversation, but it's a conversation that requires a lot of thought, and it talks about important issues.
Definitely.
So yeah, the theme today is emotion, but before we kind of go on to that and start crying all the way through it, I'll let Martin properly introduce himself.
Yeah, so I'm Martin. I used to work for the ambulance service. Worked there for 5 years as a call handler / dispatcher. I'm sure you've seen the TV programmes. It is exactly like that. It's not all life and death. I could tell you some stories, and indeed I will tell you some stories, but they won't be libellous. Not really one for going to court. But yeah, I've known Mike a couple of years. We started off on the same football team. And it's great to see Talk About It Mate grow from just meeting in a cafe in Manchester to just growing to different meetups. He's now a social enterprise, which is brilliant. He's worked really hard for it, and I really do look forward to see it growing.
And thanks for that. Yeah, I think I remember at the very beginning, one of the very first meetups we did that you came, and we were just having a drink in Wetherspoons, and each of those little things are a part of the bigger picture, and so same with the podcasting. It is about normalising it, and it normalises it for me and you, but for other people, as soon as it becomes more normal to talk about mental health or listen to other people's experiences about mental health, then you can grow. But I think I was reading today, like, maybe 1 in 4 people have a mental health problem, but 4 in 4 people have mental health. So at no point should you feel, and I say this every time, that this isn't applicable to me, because it could be, or somebody and as soon as we have this more refreshing approach about it, that I think people will ultimately be more, I don't want to say productive or happier, but I think once you know yourself better, you're more, I don't know about you, but I feel more alive, because at least if I know where I've not gone wrong, I know my insecurities or my negative things, it gives me a bit of a lift because I know about it.
That makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense. It's a self-awareness thing as well, isn't it? Because until you realise you've got anxiety, depression, any other form of mental health, it's then you can deal with it. But if you don't realise you've got it and you're just plodding along in life, then you could get to a stage where it becomes too much. And, you know, unfortunately we see the number of men 18 to 35 committing suicide is just absolutely shocking. And all it takes is for someone to go, "You okay? Yeah. Are you okay? No."
Yeah, that's been in the media.
And then it starts the conversation off.
Yeah, like asking twice, and I think that's the good thing is that like it takes a few, say half a dozen lads like us, you know, putting it on social media that we're going to a support group, and then lads who wouldn't normally talk to their mates about it, but might branch off and talk to us. Then that's half the battle, I think. As soon as someone's reached out and sent a message, I feel like, well, they've made that link.
Yeah.
It's now it's just getting them in, and I think we might as well talk about it now because we've both been going to a thing called the Human Space, which I've spoken about on the podcast or previous podcast, which is run by Human.org, www.wearehuman.org, I think, London-based charity, and it's good. Like I say, I facilitate it for them, nothing to do with Talk About It, mate. But we all share in the sessions. I don't know if you want to tell us a little bit about your experience.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's my thoughts about it at first was, is it going to be like Alcoholics Anonymous, where you sit in a circle and, you know, you stand up, I'm Martin, I've got this, etc. But it's nothing like that. It's literally a group of blokes in a room. There's a topic every week. So today, which is Wednesday, is Drive. So we get told the week before what it's about, so then I can formulate what I'm going to say, what my thoughts of Drive are, rather than just turn up and if Mike says, oh, it's sausages, then I've got to think, oh right, okay, what's my experience with sausages, etc, etc. But it's good to know that something like this is available for men, because men's mental health is so important. Like I've just said, the number of men committing suicide between 18 and 35 is just, it's too high. Even one person's too high. And the fact that we've got prominent people speaking about it, like Prince Harry, Prince William, speaking about their mental health. There was the TV show a while ago with it was Peter Crouch.
I was going to be on that.
Mike was going to be on that, yeah. Thankfully wasn't, because I imagine that he would cost a bit more than he costs already. But men's mental health is just, it's so important, and unfortunately still this stigma around, you are man, you do not have emotions, which is it's bollocks, because it's so important that we talk. And if that's talking to a friend, if it's talking to your partner, your wife, your husband, your family. But going back to Human, I think this is going to be our fifth week. And the first week, admittedly, we did know each other a little bit, but we went for dinner straight afterwards.
We did.
And that was awesome. We got to have an hour talking about specifics, and then we just chatted, and it was nice, and it just flowed. And if you are in Manchester or Edinburgh or London, have a look, and if you can make the meetings, go. It might not be for you, but if you go to one in Manchester, free tea and coffee. What's not to love about that? Yeah,
I might even get some biscuits along if I'm feeling frivolous. But it is like, I'm very, very proud to be involved with it. It's the kind of thing that I wanted to do anyway, and they've given me the opportunity to do that, and I can't speak highly enough of them and the things that they've done on their website as well. So yeah, check out Human, because I think it's fantastic. And yeah, we are becoming close and friends, and we're going through like a cycle together, and it's just general upkeep. You probably wouldn't pick any of us out and say like, oh, that man's like unhinged or anything like that. And I think this is the perceptions. It's like you said, not one person has just sat there in a circle and said, I have depression. No, it's like, oh yeah, I felt really stressed last week when this happened, and I had this bill to pay, and I had this. It's like, it's normal shit, guys, that you all go through, and like we're just putting it out there. And then it's, funnily enough, if that helps me go home and be a better partner and a better teacher, a better, maybe a less aggressive in some ways in my life, then that's a good thing. It's like, it can only be a good thing. Feelings coming up, and I've been reading into this, they're a sign that you're either pushing yourself or like you might be struggling. But feelings coming up, and coming back to this theme of emotion, isn't always a bad thing if you can just take the time to unpick them and see why. And obviously, yeah, I would say to everybody therapy works, but not everybody can in the position to either pay for therapy or go to therapy, which is I completely understand, but it's such a difficult topic to broach with men, emotion. And I was saying to you before, Martin, that I was labelled sensitive, like about 10, 11. My parents divorced. I just didn't know what my place was, and like I couldn't. Emotions always bubbled under the surface of me. If they'd come out, I'd be like very happy or get annoyed and frustrated. Frustrated, I'd say, is my number one emotion all through my life, because I don't want to be like that, but I can't help it. It's a natural part of who I am, so I have to kind of learn to accept it. So, yeah, I mean, and another arm to that is what I call self-regulation, and it's that because I can't always regulate myself, and sometimes I will lose my temper, never like usually at someone or become really incredibly anxious or fidgety, people then have kind of been a bit wary of me as a person, and it's caused a lot of conflict with me and friends, and I've lost friends over it. And I wish they'd understand that is not a specific. I'm not thinking, I'm just going to start kicking off with people, but I'm not making excuses, but it's part of how I'm wired as a person. But how do you regulate yourself? And this is a really long segue, because I'm very hard on myself in these things. But how do you regulate yourself in a job where you're dealing with life and death? That's a big first question, isn't it?
That's a big first question. It's a thinker. When I first started, I didn't think that I was naive, and I thought I'd be dealing with life and death. Be doing telling people how to do chest compressions, things like strokes, people breaking bones, and it is like that in some sense. But a lot of the calls that I dealt with were people that would phone up, and the first thing they would say is, I want to kill myself. Now, I've had no mental health training. There's no mental health training in the job. I left in February of this year. Whether that's changed or not, I don't know. But it was a case of, what do you say to that? It's hard enough if a friend says they want to kill themselves, but to deal with a stranger, I could just ask them something innocuous, and that could be the thing that tips them over the edge. It's a difficult process, and it took me 2 years to think, just speak to them like a normal person. So if they were from Manchester, something like, are you red or blue? And if they were blue, difficult conversation because I'm a red. But if it was Liverpool or Burnley or Blackburn, etc., because we covered the entire North West, it was just a case of generally talk about things. So football, Coronation Street, the weather, just
to ground someone,
just so we're not talking about the suicide or the mental health. 'Cause I've got no training in that. I've got my own mental health experiences, but it's not for me to put that on them. So it's not for me to say, I know what you're going through, because I've got depression as well, and I've got this, when it's them that have rang me for help. But I'd have colleagues that would just sit there and press the mute button and just watch television or talk to the colleague next to them because they didn't want to talk to this person. And all this person could want is just a friendly chat. I had so many people say, thank you, you've helped me just by talking to me. You haven't judged me. You've not thought, oh, this guy's crazy, he's got schizophrenia, or this guy's crazy, he's got depression, anxiety, ADHD, psychosis. And it took me 2 years to do that, and we've had people that have come into the job, lasted 6 months and gone, you know what, can't do this is not for me.
And they can't, because they can't regulate their feelings. It's bringing up too much emotion in them
and
on a daily basis, like they're your fight and flight, because it's a panic based situation, isn't it? Some people can be very, very calm. That's the thing, you if they're going through a very extreme moment, either physical or mental health, your calmness I always, when you watch the shows, you know, like the paramedics,
Yeah.
they always, the way they are with old people is brilliant, isn't it? And it's always like talking about have a cup of tea and like just keep normal things that people can understand, and it gets people back onto like a kind of a level, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
I just think like, it'd be very easy for me to say I couldn't do it, but I don't know if I could. I think it would bring up too many feelings in me.
It's the hardest job I've ever done. I mean, I've worked in customer service, and boiling it down, it is customer service because they're calling for a service.
Yeah.
But the amount of men that would call up, it wasn't.
Yeah.
I'd say 6, 7 out of 10 suicidal calls were men, and it's.
Yeah.
And there was nothing for them. There was nothing like Human or the service that Mike's going to tell me about because I can never remember what it's called.
You put me on the spot there. What am I talking
The
about?
Man Club.
Oh, Andy's Man Club.
Andy's
Yeah,
Man
they're
Club.
they're brilliant. Like, like what that. I think they're the most prominent nationally now. I think they get like, I could be wrong, 600 people a week in various locations, and it's just a simple thing. But guys are coming in and making friends with each other, and it's a network, and that's what talking about it, mate, came from. Is that like I did a blog, someone said you should keep doing stuff like this to help people. I wasn't qualified anything then apart from being a teacher. Mm-hmm. Like, it's peer support, and I think the whole point is like podcasts as well. Ordinary people can do extraordinary things.
Yeah.
Like they really can, and you just have to like. I say maybe been through your own journey and give something back. Like, but anyone can get involved in anything like that. Like volunteering is a surefire way to raise your self-esteem and confidence. Like, I know you do stuff. You've done stuff for a long time, and as soon as you get into anything, like say the weight loss with other men, like you feel like you're part of something. And but at the same time, talk about it, mate. In my life, I've never felt more empowered, but I've never felt more alone. Because at the end of the day, it's not saying it's my cross to bear, but it's my personal brand, it's my thing, and I look at other groups that I've set up and they've got 4 or 5 people running their website and contributing blogs, and I really admire them.
Yeah.
And I think, oh, I could do that, but then I have to check myself before I wreck myself when I think like that, because I can do things like that, but as one person I've done so many things. Yeah. And I will continue to do so many things, but I've kind of lost my thread here, but like it's all part of self-awareness, I suppose.
Yeah.
But just it must be. Say, I imagine after a while, if you've been doing the job a while, you don't panic as much because you've seen it time and time again. Mm-hmm. Like you've had someone call up with a broken bone, or had someone call up with a heart attack, and how much of it is following like protocol, or?
I'd say 90% of it's protocol. If someone calls up and someone's in cardiac arrest and I've got to give them the instructions to do CPR over the phone, that's all on the screen. It's all click this to get this, and click this to get this, click this to get this, and it's all on the screen.
So that's proven to work, I suppose.
And that's proven to work, but there's nothing for mental health.
Yeah.
It's just we're going to get some help to you as quick as we can.
Are they best going? In your opinion, are they best going through Samaritans?
Yeah, because
they're specifically trained volunteer,
they're specifically
call
trained
handlers.
mental health, whereas all I can do is send an ambulance. Unfortunately, the NHS is so stretched. The ambulance will take them to A&E. They'll have a chat, they'll get a leaflet, they'll go somewhere else. They might be referred for counselling, but that can take months, and it could be in the interim they give up and they do take their own life.
Do you often find that it's the same people again and again as well? It can be.
Yeah.
But they're calling up because they want to help, and it's because there's no other sources of support out there. But like self-help is another one. I'll say that self-help on the website, self-help's all over the UK. And again, that's the kind of thing that with appropriate funding I could provide, because happy running groups for people and creating communities for people, and that that connection part of what we do and talk about, mate, is so important. But it takes, the first part is courage, and then it takes the compassion. And what you're touching on is like you are showing them the compassion. Like you say, you're not the person who puts them on hold. The compassion is just like, all right, it's probably really shit what you're going through. Like you're probably thinking that in your head. I'm going to listen to you because you deserve to be listened to. And I think that like maybe with guys, and I found that even with people I know, and this is not, I'm again not knocking people, they find it very hard to just want to intervene and like give you platitudes or like try and talk down what you're saying. Even in a stage of good mental health like I'm in, if I'm talking about my journey, it can make some people very shifty and uncomfortable in their seat. And it's like, just I'm not saying agree, that's that, just listen.
Yeah.
Listen and you might learn, because I've listened to a hell of a lot of people, and it's like, if you listen, because when people are listened to and they're not judged, then they've got a room to grow. If you don't have those two things, like, and I was talking to my counsellor about children's counselling, and you know, something I might want to get into in the future. Like, how do they express themselves? Like, you know, it's not really, you can't really ask them questions like you would an adult.
No.
You know, like you let them play. You let them express themselves through like play, and then lots of statements she told me like, I wonder, and you're teasing things out that way, and it's you know, it's hard, and I think it is, adults don't like to change the way that they are as people, and like I used to be like that for a long time, probably till my late 20s, and then it got to the point where things were so bad for me, I thought something's got to give. Like I have to change something, because if I don't change something, I could have been one of those people who rang you up on the phone.
Exactly.
You know, and there you go. But I suppose when we're talking about emotion, men's emotion, which we'll come on to later, but there must be things in the job that trigger your emotions.
Oh yeah, I mean, you've just asked me, was it the same people that would phone? And I can check the history and I can see what treatment they've had in terms of what's the ambulance done or what's the previous call handler done. I remember a young girl rang in like absolute hysterics, and I was thinking, oh, what's gone on? Has someone fallen and cut themselves and you've seen some blood? And she was screaming, and I had to like really bring her down. I can't remember her name, but it was like, look, I need you to take a deep breath and tell me what's happened.
You had to be a bit more...
I had to be a bit more assertive, and her boyfriend at the time had put signs on the door saying, do not come in, carbon monoxide. And at first I thought, is this a hoax? But what he'd done is he'd lit the disposable barbecues all over the house. He'd put towels against the door and essentially gassed himself.
Right.
And this guy was, I think he was 25, she was 19, and I had to try and remain professional, but whilst I was talking I was crying because this guy had no history with us, he'd never phoned, and whether he thought about it for a while, he'd not phoned us, he just decided that day, I'm going to take my life. People take their lives every day. People do different things. They jump in front of trains, they jump off bridges,
we have to be able to talk about this, guys. We have to be able to talk about this. If anyone is feeling comfortable listening to this, I do apologise, but at the same time, if we stop talking about it because people get uncomfortable, it will stop progress being made.
Exactly. And this guy, horrendous way to go.
Yeah.
And I just remember saying to her, look, I need you to leave the house because it's dangerous for you, and she was just staying by his side, and that's a call that's always stayed with me. I've known colleagues that have had people hang themselves whilst on the phone to them.
Yeah, it's brutal. It must be like, I think you get desensitized to the everyday. You know, like you say, like someone breaks a bone or someone's bleeding, because you hear that so many times. But even in your self-regulation, you're at. What I'm trying to say is, if you didn't show emotion from time to time at things like that, then what I'm trying to say is, if you self-regulate your emotions to stay professional, I'm using air quotes here.
Yeah.
If you do that too much, like, is that a good thing?
Well,
like, how can we have too much self-control in terms of our emotions?
Because you could have that self-regulation and just separate yourself, and then one day something could send you over the edge. Like, my self-regulation would be that there's a scene in a TV show called Scrubs where they lose 4 patients in one night.
Yeah. And
as soon as their foot leaves the hospital, that's gone. So I would get home from work, and me and the wife would have the usual discussion. How was your day? Yeah, not too bad. Yours? Yeah, not too bad. I just wouldn't talk about it because I didn't want to bring that home. My outlet was colleagues, it was supervisors, it was...
Which there'll be something in place for you,
exactly,
because there has to be.
Well, yeah, there's... You could take time out after a difficult call, you could speak to a supervisor, there's things like counselling in place, which I decided that I'll take advantage of because I've had things happen in my life, which I'm not going to go into because it's not about this, where I decided that I can phone a counsellor today, Wednesday, and Friday I've got an appointment.
Yeah.
If it went through the NHS, it could be months and months and months.
Yeah.
So I had to grasp that and take it, and I think it was 6 free sessions. It was in this lady's front room. There was no judgment. I could just talk and talk and talk, and she'd interject where appropriate. And that helped me so much because I finished that counselling on Thursday, going back 2 years now, and then on Monday the horrendous attack at the arena happened. I'd worked that day, I'd done a 7 day shift, and I was just messing about at home on Twitter and saw that something had happened, so I sent a message to a group that we had at the time saying what's going on, and said yeah, it's bad, if you can come in. So I went in. I thought, right, okay, I've had my counts and I can separate myself from this, I can just deal with the calls, because I imagined that it would be so busy, but it wasn't. No one was calling
because everyone was fixed on what was
everyone was fixed on what was happening. But I'll never ever forget, it was 11:30, and this guy rang up and he said, I've broken my toe, I want an ambulance. I was like, right, okay, you've broken your toe and you want an ambulance. And all I could think was, there's people dead at the arena, there's kids that have died.
Yeah.
All our resources are there. Do you not watch the news?
How do you watch the news? Do you think?
No, I couldn't say to her. I still had to remain professional and go through the triage process. But all I wanted to say was, and excuse my French, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
Get a taxi, go to A&E. You're not having an ambulance. And I realised in that moment that I had to take a step back because otherwise I'd end up saying something that could potentially cost me my job.
Yeah.
So whilst I had the counselling, I had coping mechanisms, I had to go home because I'd read the log and what had happened and how people had died.
And that had affected you. And
I had to go home. I remember
that's courage, that though, because like you could, like you say, if you're worried about potentially endangering a potential service user, to have to say, and I've walked away from many things, and I have this deep shame sometimes about them, but ultimately if I'm not helping myself and helping the persons around me, then you're best off away from it. But it's very hard because in your mind you think, oh well, one bad thing will tar me for life, like one bad lesson makes me a bad teacher. That's bullshit. I know that. I know that now. Like one bad session with and it's like you've gone back. You went back after that, I presume, before you moved on to your new role. But I couldn't imagine, like you say, once you hear about how bad things were, how does anyone cope with it? Like emotion, Yeah.
And like I've said to you previously, I've had colleagues that have lasted a few months because they come in at like 21, 22, I'm 36, and they've not had the life experience, and to hear an elderly lady ring up to say her husband's died in the night and
it can be very...
there's nothing that we can do. It's how do you process that? How do you deal with that? How do you not get emotional?
That's it. You follow that's why the protocols are there, I suppose. But yeah, emotion is emotion. Like I say, the fact that they let you go away from and take some time, and I think that's I've had tough times in teaching, and they're bad. Go and get a coffee. Like another teacher might come to go get a coffee. I'll get a cup of tea. But there's times when I'm thinking about the supply, like you're under intense pressure. You've got no teaching assistant. You're dying for a piss. You've got 32 children like giving you grief. Not saying not all of them, but like you're a bit trapped. You're a bit like no worries. You're just a bit trapped, like you. And that's when, if you can't walk away from a situation, that's when it's difficult. And I think coming back to this idea of self-control,
Yeah.
like, if I'm not saying, I don't know, I don't think I could ever work in an office, like, just know how I'm wired as a person.
Yeah.
Because I don't like really like bosses and managers, and I'm a bit of a pain in the arse, to be honest. I don't like cause problems on purpose.
Yeah.
I just can't take things to a certain extent, and bureaucracy and crap. But that's it. These jobs aren't like office jobs. You're dealing with like really serious things. And my best, I've got 2 best men. I'm getting married on Sunday, and today is Wednesday. So like, emotion is at the surface of my life. I can't avoid it. To put it in a box right now, I think would be unhealthy.
Yeah.
And like I said, I got 2 best men, very, very different people. One's a doctor in London, and like I said to him on the stag, like, if I could. You're a racehorse, I'd bet you in every race, because his self-regulation, he's got a baby due, he might not make my wedding, but like the way that his self-control is just better than any person I've ever met. Like, I mean, I've wound him up over the years and like pushed his buttons, but then it works both ways.
Yeah.
Like, I don't do it on purpose, but how do you do that, especially in like a situation where you're dealing like talking frontline A&E staff, like. I just couldn't do it.
No.
And like what you guys have to listen to, and it's like, no wonder so many people in police or ambulance service, turn to the bottle. Like prison officers. My mum and her husband were prison officers, and like the stresses of the jobs, teachers again. I think people who don't do those jobs, if they can't try to understand what it's like for people, like, so anyone who knocks those people, I just think, do one. I really do. Like, if you can't look after your teachers, like, and all those, like, where's your humanity?
Yeah, I mean, people, and I was guilty of this, for I lived with my best mate who was a teacher. I used to think, you do 8 hours and then you come home and you chill, you've got all these holidays, what are you whinging about? And then to see him come home having to do lesson plans and all the, like you said, bureaucracy bullshit, the Ofsted, and it's all about results, it's not about the children, and class size is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and little Johnny might need more help.
Yeah, you can't always give it him.
And you can't give him that help because you've got 31 other kids to deal with, so little Johnny's like, wow.
And some bad leaders make you feel that you're failing the children.
Absolutely.
And it's like, you have to trust your own moral compass there, though, I think. Like, and that is very hard, especially when you're like I was, under intense anxiety. And I do want to get a teacher onto the podcast, and we can really flesh this out, because I think there's so much I can delve into with that. And I want to run stuff for teachers, I think. Like, and I think people like you, like you, I know already over the last 6 weeks how you could do counselling, like, working with people from the ambulance service. So I've got a little, maybe let's deviate from this, I've got a little checklist, because I think everyone needs to have a coping mechanism or have a support network around them. And I found this on the Mind website, and everyone knows Mind are the best there is about mental health. And just answer yes or no to these things. And it says you can use the checklist below to identify factors that are affecting your mental well-being. So for people who are, for example, ambulance call handlers, this might be a good reference point. I have someone I can talk to about my feelings.
Yes.
I have good friends I can trust.
Yes.
I sleep well most of the time.
No.
Resounding no. I eat healthy most of the time.
Recently I'm doing better.
You do really well. I do some physical activity regularly.
Yes.
Good. I make time for the things I enjoy.
Absolutely.
I do things to help other people.
Yeah.
I feel that I achieve things.
Yeah.
I know how to relax.
Oh hell yeah. Absolutely. Netflix and chill.
I'm not coming round for that. I know what affects my moods.
Yeah, absolutely.
I am kind to myself about who I am.
Mainly, yeah.
Compassion now. I look after myself during difficult times.
Yes, definitely.
That's the thing. And imagine 2 years ago, I'm thinking of you before I met you, really. Probably about 2 years ago I met you, probably a bit longer. Would you have had as many yeses then, do you think?
No, because I was going through my own. I've had anxiety for years, but I've not known it. Things like if the wife goes to work and she hasn't texted me, she's crashed the car, or if I get a text message from someone, can you call me? It's like, oh my God, what's happened? Who's
I
dead?
get very much like that over text message.
And I remember specifically driving back from Tesco and looking in the wing mirror, and there was a guy in a motorbike behind me, and I was just convinced he was a hitman. And I got home and I spoke to my then housemate, and I said, what's going on? He said, you've got anxiety. I was like, no. And I went on the NHS website, which is the worst thing to do, and checked. I was like, check. Oh shit, maybe I do.
Yeah.
And that's when I realised that the counselling's there, let's go for it. And I'd say I've worked for the ambulance service for 5 years. It's probably the best job that I've had. But it has brought on anxiety, it's brought on depression, and I'm good at a situation where if I'm not comfortable or I'm not happy, I'll go for another job, and that's exactly what I've done. I've taken myself out of the call handling. I do a similar job where I tell the police officers where they go, I prioritise what they're going to, etc, etc. But I don't speak to the public anymore, except to apologise or check their availability. But I'm not dealing with suicidal people. I'm not dealing with people having heart attacks.
Yeah.
Having to help deliver babies over the phone. Best calls ever, but still stressful. I'm not being called shithead, dickhead, the C-bomb, F you, da-da-da-da-da.
I just can't get my head around
I'm much
people who
happier.
do that. Yeah. No, that's it though. And do you feel like your emotions not being pulled in lots of different directions as much?
Yeah. I mean, there's only one specific incident I could think of.
Yeah.
And I've worked for the police since February, and it was someone went missing, and people go missing all the time. It was an elderly male, and they just normally turn up safe and well. Unfortunately, this guy had fallen, and he'd drowned in a puddle. And when I got the officer saying, yeah, this male's deceased, I had to take myself out of that situation for 10-15 minutes just to take a deep breath, to make a coffee, to have a chocolate bar, and then I spoke to my supervisor after it and nipped it in the bud there and then, whereas in the past I'd have just gone, no, I'm fine, and it could manifest itself later on. I think having that support network in place, you ask those questions before. I've got friends, I've got peers, I've got friends on social media that I consider friends that I can speak to, and they can speak to me, and things like Human it's helped.
Oh, massively.
I'm so happy that it's a thing, and I just hope it grows and grows, and it becomes a thing in every city, not in every city because that's impossible, but in big cities where there's a lot of pressure, people that work in London in financial markets, and teachers and emergency service staff, etc, etc, etc.
And that is peer support, and it could be developed for any different, like you say, specific jobs for actors, for teachers. Like, it's out there. There's people out there, and you don't have to be qualified to listen. And we never learn how to listen as people, but you start going to these things. And I'd say the first couple of weeks, I just kind of sat back, facilitated it, made sure that everyone had a chance to speak if they wanted to speak. And then, I'm not saying, but eventually, sometimes there are silences, which you find you have to live and breathe with those silences because people are processing. And they're quite powerful. This is how I've kind of developed as a counsellor. But what happened probably the third week is there was kind of an opening, and I put myself into it because I'm there as facilitating it, but that I'm volunteering, but I'm getting something from it.
Absolutely.
And I felt that what I had to say was quite, it fitted the theme really well, and it kind of brought me out as well. And the guys know me quite well anyway, and then I felt really engaged with it because I was involved, and I put my vulnerabilities about whatever the topic was out there. And I think you're a great example listening to you. I always listen to what you're saying, but I'm always thinking about something else at the same time.
Yeah.
And I used to feel terrible for that. I think I was being ignorant, but it's just how my brain is wired, and I'm able to do that. It's a blessing and a curse, I'm afraid. But you definitely got the strength through vulnerability thing that I've talked about. That's my very first blog, and And then we were talking about another member of the group who we won't name for confidentiality, but how well he's processed some things that have happened in his life, and it makes you then consider your own life from your own perspective. And that's the point of peer support. You could say nothing, just your name or hello to everyone, and listen to 5 different people and the way that they're trying to unpick their issues or present their issues, and you could go home and think, that kind of explains so many things, and it gives you a fresh perspective on your mind, and you might find that you're the next day 10% more productive, 10% kinder to yourself. Like, that's the whole point. I think that the reason why there's so much division and hatred a lot in the world is directly related to mental health. If mental health is well-being, and I say maybe we need to rewrite the word mental health, because as soon as people hear it, you've got this separation already. You've drawn a line in the sand. Mental well-being, because people will be more productive and more nicer to each other, and more accepting of each other. Like you say, children aren't born racist, are they? Like, that's learned behaviours, and like, not to go off on a massive tangent there. And my mum listens to these podcasts, and she says she enjoyed the last one because I didn't go off on any tangents, and I'm trying not to do that today. But I think it's a general discussion, and bringing it back to men. You know, we can sit here and do this, but like, you know, there's the men that I probably don't talk to because I'm a bit scared of them. Wouldn't, and I'm thinking, like, you know, they wouldn't talk to their friends about it because it's like a weakness thing still, and it's a status thing. So like, they might be respected because they're strong, or they're good at football, or they're good at rugby, or they're like, you go to the gym and like they're physically threatening. But like, that's just adaptation. Like, I'm not knocking people for that. It's just that if you're bottling up things, then you're putting yourself and others at risk. I know that I've been there, and you can end up upsetting people, and I deeply regret those things. But it came from like not being able to process my feelings, and I got to the point where I did feel very suicidal, and like, there are people who, you know, won't accept that, and that's what hurts me. But you know, someone told to me once, this is in my speech actually for the wedding, you got to cut negativity out of your life, like, because if it's not doing you any favours, then, and it's funny, you know, there were people who didn't want to speak to me, and like that, not that they're bad people, it's just that that's negativity in my form. So as soon as I separated myself from that, and I threw myself into meeting you guys at football, and all this, my life has gone like well. And that's it. To talk about emotion, I say I'm getting married, and it is there. It's on the surface, and you've been through that. In the week running up to the wedding, any strange emotions come out? Or?
No, the only emotion really was excitement, because you've gone through this process of the proposal, and then it's viewing venues. It's like, speaking about emotion and stuff, like, men leave to woman to plan wedding. Bollocks.
I couldn't do that.
I was involved in every step. I found the venue, taking credit for that, Elle. I know you're listening.
Yes, big yourself up.
Things like photographer, food, and just I wanted to be involved in every part of the wedding, because I'm slogging my guts out doing overtime at work, and I wanted to be involved in that. I didn't want to turn up on the day and go, oh right, okay, cool, yeah, flowers are nice. We don't have flowers, we have paper flowers. She made every single one.
Wow.
Absolute legend. But I wanted to be involved in that process because it's our day. I didn't want people to say, if people had thoughts on the food, yep, I chose that. Or
enjoy being a part of
it, because you're paying so much money. And if you just want to go, you do it all. Why getting married? What's the point? But that's
and then it becomes just what you do, and I hate that though. Where it's just like it's just what you do, isn't it? And it's like, well, that's just like an absent-minded view of life. And then they say we all go through the motions on things, but like I'm not gonna let my special day take me away. And like for me, like all of this, and our topic tonight is drive actually, but everything that's been pushing me for the last, say, a couple of years is I've got this big day coming up, and it's like, there's been times it's spilled over, and I feel like I've become a bit of a perfectionist. Like, I've got to be this weight for the wedding. Like for the last year, I've been saying I've got to be 75 kilos for the wedding, and then about I probably very nearly hit that about 2 months ago,
Yeah.
3 months ago. Then I thought to myself, well, you know, I can't just not enjoy myself and not like, you know, and so I'm probably going to be 79 kilos for the wedding. But you know what? Like, I tried my suit on, I look good. And that's another thing. I was overcome with emotion the first time I tried the suit on because I'd lost like 3.5 stone.
Yeah.
Like, you know, in total, probably lost nearly 4 stone, and that's a massive change. And now I'm starting to see myself. If you go back and listen to my previous podcast, I didn't see myself as a person who wasn't fat. But now I am seeing myself as a not fat person, and that's really great. And I have to. By denying myself these emotions, I was putting myself at like, I just wasn't being the full version of myself. And again, it might sound cheesy, but like, I reckon I'm saying what a lot of people are thinking about emotions. Like, if I let them out, and if I am angry or frustrated, just get it out in some kind of way. Like, if I'm annoyed, or if I go on a treadmill and just go do 5k and just like smash it out, that can get that feeling out. I'm not denying that feeling.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like instead of just like what I'd have done 4 years ago, just picked up a drink or something like that, and like, that's it. Like 4 years ago, probably not to this day, but like just over 4 years ago, I had a mental breakdown. Right. And now I'm getting married to this amazing person who accepted me as I was when I was. I didn't even know who I was back then when I met her, and accepts this great version of me now. Not, you know, like, but it's just things. What I was going to say, you know, it gets better.
Absolutely.
You know, like, and that guy who rings up on the phone who's suicidal, he probably don't want to hear that right then. Like you say, he wants you just to calm him, whatever.
Yeah.
But it gets better, and I don't stop thinking about the bad things that have happened to me, because that, I don't want to say I wear them like a badge of honour, but like, that's part of the process. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for those things. I wouldn't be as mindful of the things that I've done, and that's all getting in touch with emotions. And there's still things that the way I deal with stress isn't great. This is National Stress Awareness Day today. But did you find any other emotions that come up regularly for you, or that you're not comfortable with?
I'm just I cry a lot. And it's not because...
That's so brave to say that. That's so courageous to say that.
It's not because I'm upset.
Yeah.
It's things like...
Is it dog programmes? Because I create dog programmes now.
It's things like, spoiler alert, when Jake proposed to Amy in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I cried.
Because you love the show.
Because I love the show, and I love the process of how their journey started. Things like, if a human dies in a film, it's like, oh, it's sad. But again, spoiler alert, in I Am Legend, when he has to put the dog down...
Oh, don't.
It's heartbreaking.
Don't do it, man. Don't do it.
Even things like... I remember I had a really shit day at work a few years ago, and I came home from work and I just wanted to sit in my comfies and watch shit telly. And we were watching Gogglebox. And I think it was... one of the vet programmes, and the dog was... touch and go, and then the dog survived. Just like
you cry with happiness then.
Just crying happiness. Things like Queer Eye.
Did you watch that?
I love that programme, and I think that's guys getting in touch with their emotions, and guys again that you watch that and you think that you look at them and you're like, oh, you don't look like you've got problems, and they have problems, and then they cry, and I'm just an emotional person.
That's okay,
and that's fine. Guys, it's okay to cry.
Let's all have a big cry.
Let's just, it's alright once in a while just to have a cry.
I'm worried I might cry though on Sunday. Like I don't know. Like I say, I could say this because I might even put this out Saturday before the wedding. Because I'm thinking I'll put this out Saturday, right? I'm thinking like, I know she's going to look great when she walks in. I'm in a dress, like, but the whole occasion I could become very overwhelmed because of all these people I haven't seen for a long time. And like, I felt a bit like that on the stag. I mean, they did dress me up as a woman and then as a patient and waxed my bum crack and all that. And like, you know, like there was like, not by my choice, but there was a lot of full frontal male nudity, which I hope, guys, because half of you don't listen to this anyway, that those pictures will never see the light of day. But someone did lose a memory stick, so I am worried. But anyway, I'm going off topic. Stop it. I might cry when she walks in. I don't know. Like I wrote my speech a few months back. I might cry with that because, like, you know, just people we've lost this year and stuff like that. And it's like, but that's okay, you know, like, because you can go through a whole range of emotions, and isn't that more meaningful?
Yeah, like, it's an emotional diary. I remember being fine. I was saying to Mike before we started recording, I drove myself to the wedding
because you want to be in control.
I wanted it to be in control. Also, hire cars very expensive. And I was completely fine. I saw the venue, I saw everything else, and I knew she was going to turn up. But I remember looking over the hills and seeing her hire car, and I remember crying then. There were some tears during the ceremony because it's an emotional day. It's a build-up of 2 years of meeting different people. It's 2 years of planning. Things can go wrong. Photographers might not turn up. I went to a wedding at the weekend where the makeup artist didn't turn up.
Wow.
Yeah. Don't worry, Laura, they'll turn up. But it's just an accumulation of 2 years, and it's seeing your friends, it's seeing your family, seeing people that have grown on this journey with you.
Yeah.
Speeches, toasts. It's an exhausting day because you're at the centre of attention.
And that's hard to take. That brings out emotion. Like you say,
so difficult
got a best man who's come away from Australia. Of course he'd come. I was the best man at his wedding. But it's emotional like that. They've come for you. And people don't like being the centre of attention. As much as I'm quite an extroverted person and Laura's more of an introverted person.
Yeah.
You're still the centre of attention, and that will evoke emotional reaction. And that's the thing with men. What we're trying to say, all we've said in this last 45 minutes is the emotion is okay. Like, as long as, say, you're not channeling it that people get hurt. Mm-hmm. And that's it. Like I say, I can look from the past and say I wasn't a macho guy, but like, me losing my temper or getting upset could hurt other people's feelings.
Yeah.
And like, I might push people away, and it's like the worst. But what many men do is it like they're lauded for the fact that they can put away all their feelings and then just be hard and stuff like that. And it's like, I understand why these things happen, you know, like I show a lot of empathy for people when they do something wrong, you know, like we had a good chat about that Joker movie, didn't we? And we said like he's a victim, you know, if that was a real case, he's a victim of like 40 years of you know, he was failed by the system, his mum was failed by the system, and it's like, I understand, but people can do bad things, like, and you don't want to get to that point. As soon as you go past that line, unfortunately, you have to receive what's coming back at you.
Yeah, deal with the consequences.
Yeah, and the thing is, I always palmed myself mentally, like I'd feel so bad about what I've done, and the shame of making a scene led to me wanting to take my own life, you know, and like I can talk about that now, and it might make some people uncomfortable, and like
tough guys.
Yeah,
like I've said several times in this podcast.
Yeah.
Suicide rates in men 18 to 35 is just, or is it 18 to 40? One of them. It's horrendous,
and we need to stop that.
And we need to stop.
We all
not having this conversation because it's important. We're sat in a pub in Manchester.
Yeah.
And it's not like we're whispering. We're talking quite loudly.
Yeah.
And there's been people that have been sat in a booth behind me.
Yeah.
And I'm not bothered that I've talked about all these things, because if that makes them think, wow, they can talk about it in public, why don't I have a chat with my mate? Yeah. If this podcast helps just one person to talk about their emotions, their feelings,
and how could
then that's not a bad thing. That's an amazing thing. How
can we get people involved? Well, comment. Like, I love, you know, like, it's nice when someone likes it and shares it, but comment. Like, comment on something. Tell someone about the human space. There's guys out there, like, yesterday I must have messaged about 20 guys I know. Don't know them that well, whatever, but come along, comment, try it. You get out what you put in.
Yeah.
You really do. Like, and I can say that because I have so many negative points, but courage is not one of them. Mm-hmm. Like, and if any, you know, I've shown so much courage. I couldn't ride a bike, and I had to learn how to ride a bike as an adult. Mm-hmm. Like, because it was so much shame. I can talk about it now. It's on here. Like, I was so ashamed, and it was like a monkey on my back, and I had to do it. Yeah. And I learned. And I haven't really done it since, but like, because I never learned as a kid, because it got so embarrassed when I made a mistake. Yeah. That I just had this massive wobbler, and like, I'd say my emotions got the better of me and stopped me doing things in life. Yeah. By controlling my emotions, and I say controlling, but by learning to manage and live with my emotions. On Sunday, I'm getting married. Mm-hmm. That would not have happened if it wouldn't have been for the emotions. Yeah. And I think that's really the way that we could end it. It's a really good way to end it, really, I think.
If we're going to do confession time, Mike had to learn to ride a bike. I can't swim. I'm 36, I can't swim.
Right, I'm going to ask someone who listens to this to teach you how to swim. It's out there now, like, it's out there.
Yeah.
You know, like, it can't hurt you.
No.
Someone comes back at you now and like, ha, you can't swim. I just turn and be like, well, what the fuck are you going to do about it?
Exactly, yeah.
Like, that's the thing, it's funny, like, I've never been like a fighting guy or an aggressive guy, but like, I'll stand up for myself now more. I'm more assertive, and you know what, because it's that fear is not ruling my life as much. Like, you know, it's easy to say what's the worst thing that can happen, but statistically, if like someone gets in my face, I don't want to get into a fight, but if I feel like I'm right in bringing up a point, then I'm not going to back down on it. Not because, not like argue to the end of the world.
No.
But I'll just, you know, and I'm getting better at staying calm. I'm getting better at dealing with things. And like, that's only going to make me a better advocate for myself, I suppose.
Exactly.
But yeah, I've really enjoyed this one because I think
me
just
too.
banged the table there.
It's just been very natural. It's just two guys in a pub having a drink.
I definitely think we should get some lunch now.
Absolutely, yeah.
But yeah, we're going to go to our session tonight, and we're going to feel invigorated and yeah, really check out Human. Check out the upcoming events. I'm going to end with this. Is that Courage, Compassion, Connection is my mantra, I suppose, which I have to credit Ken for, who we worked with in London as a life coach. But yeah, so I'm going to do a discussion about what courage is, and it's open to men and women, so not just a men only thing. And one about compassion and one about connection. The first two are Boho Utopia in Withington. Probably the third one, but I haven't secured that yet. But people were saying, do something in South Manchester. So I listened. So I have listened. Let's see if people can come along now.
Exactly.
Because it's all very good saying, we do this, do this, do this. But Martin comes and Martin's improved his life because he's done something like
Absolutely.
that. And like, you could all capable of doing that. You've just got to take that step. And it's time to be a little bit more call to action, I think, about these kind of things.
Yeah.
So keep following us. And mid-December, the website should be out, and I'm very excited about that. So, a new and improved website. So, episode 12, Emotion. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much, Martin.
No, it's been a pleasure.
Brilliant. Thank you. Oh. I'm trying to pause it. And I'm trying to stop it. I'll also have to edit this now.
Don't tell me.
I'm not going to delete it. Hang on. How's it up? Is it because I'm locked in? No. What happened then? It's okay, it's saved.
Good.
There we go. I'll just have to cut.
Oh, God.